Good morning and welcome to Church at Home with Rachael for Thursday the 7th of October. Oop, dude's moving the camera again. This morning I would like to talk about Facebook for a minute. I'm not a big fan of Facebook. I don't really have an opinion on it, except it helps me keep in touch with people I can't see very often, and it allows me to share these videos, and there's lots of really good things about Facebook. But you might be aware that Facebook's been sort of under fire this week because of Instagram and a recognition from that its algorithms actually target young people and really do invite people to participate in ways that aren't healthy for their mental health and things like that. Understood. I completely agree with that. I would have been arguing that about magazines and other forms of social influence for years and years and years. Every time there's a new form of social influence, we have to be careful because the way that it sells often, unfortunately, is the negative stuff. We young women in particular have for years and years, for decades, been bombarded with photoshopped pictures and things that tell them how they really should look. If they are the ideal girl, they would look like Twiggy, or they would look like this or that, or probably most of you wouldn't know who Twiggy is. She's even a little bit before my time. But the point being, we don't look like these people. None of us really do. They don't even look like those people. And yet for years, we have held folks like that up to some kind of, this is the icon of perfection that we're all supposed to look toward. And we have done damage to ourselves, to our children, to our siblings, everybody who pays attention to those things and buys into a false understanding of this is what society says is okay, is expected. We need to change that, absolutely. And Facebook is, if what they're saying about Facebook and Instagram and all of those things is true, then absolutely that needs to be changed. But something else that needs to be changed is for those of us who are not children about Facebook, we need to grow up and we need to understand something. We need to go back to basic etiquette, back to what we were taught when we were at our grandparents' knees. Before Facebook, when growing up, I didn't have Facebook. We even had party lines at my grandmother's house where they pick up the phone and, it was certain ring for you. And if you wanted to, at any time, you could pick up the phone and listen in on somebody else's conversation. And there were always people who would do that because they were busybodies. They were nosy people. They were nosy Parkers. I'm a Parker. Things like that. But the fact is, the most people didn't. And if their parents find out they'd get in trouble and they wouldn't do it again because they were listening in, they're eavesdropping on somebody else's conversation that had nothing to do with them and wasn't their right to hear that information. We don't read other people's diaries. We don't, generally speaking, we don't go looking for dirt on other people because we don't like them. We grow up. We acknowledge that other people are not like us. Or maybe we don't like the way they work or something, or maybe they've said something that we take offense at. But you know what? If we're grown up, we leave it alone. We walk away. We disengage. We don't have a relationship with that person, whatever, but we don't do anything with it. Well, Facebook has given us this innocuous kind of way of opening diaries and opening up and tuning in, putting those party lines on telephone lines on speaker so that we can all hear it. There's something about Facebook where, if you're friends with somebody or if you're not friends with somebody, but they weren't savvy enough to put on their to put their security levels on so that nobody could see what they post. We have the ability, those of us even who are really not intending to do anything wrong, to, just go check out somebody. Or who's that friend requested me? I don't know them, or I don't know them. So you check on them and you see, who else they have in common with friends, and just read some of their posts and maybe take a look at that. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that if you have a reason for that. If they've reached out to you to say, would you be my friend? So for instance, if my sister Anna were to create a new profile and she didn't say she couldn't get hold of me, so she to let me know. So she sent me a friend request and said, and I thought, okay, I'll check that out to see if that is my sister. And I look, there it is. It's my sister. Her picture is, good. I'm relatively sure it's her. I click yes. Then as a friend, I have the right, because she's offered it to me, to see the things that she posts. Well, there's lots of people, myself included, who don't have really strict security measures. I don't put things that are sensitive on Facebook. Not that sensitive anyway. And if I do, it's because I'm an idiot, because I didn't realize I was. But if some stranger sees it, not a big deal. I don't put pictures of children and mostly my dog, things like that, and political opinions that are mild. I don't put my heavy ones on there. But the idea is that if any person were to look at my profile or open up my Facebook and look through it, they really wouldn't find anything too big. But you know what? I don't necessarily want them to. Just because I don't post anything that would be, harmful to me, to my dignity, to my work, to my family, doesn't mean that I want to be trolled. I think that's what they call it, trolling, or ghosted, or whatever the phrases are. I'm not up to date on them. However, there are people out there who, in anything else in their world, wouldn't do that. They wouldn't go into your purse. Like, for instance, Rob, my husband, never goes into my purse. He won't go in my purse. Even if I say, grab my keys for me, he won't go in my purse. Okay? That's just the way he is. He was raised that way. And that's actually pretty awesome. He wouldn't look through my diary or open up my journal and read it without me giving him permission. And even if I did, he probably would be reluctant to do so. But there's something about Facebook and Instagram that's sort of like a flashing neon sign that says, come and see, for those people who just don't get that that's not cool. Just because I have Facebook doesn't mean I necessarily want people to go in and not just see what I posted, but to dig deep and see all of my pictures and things like that. Yes, it's my fault for posting them and having them on an open Facebook thing. And that's on me for putting them there. But if someone chooses to do something against me because I put them on there, that's on them. Facebook has given people, not Facebook, but the fact that we live in a world that has things like Facebook allows people, or has created us as an environment in which people seem to think it's okay to go digging in someone else's stuff. Just because I leave my diary open on a desk, my fault. It's available. People can read it. If they walk into my room, they can see it. They can read it if they want. But most people would look at that and say, oh, Rachel left her personal diary open on her desk. She probably got called away. I don't think I should read that. They might even close it so that no one else is tempted. But they aren't going to go and read it. With Facebook, it's like everything's open and everybody's okay. If you put it on Facebook, it's okay. Well, sometimes you put something, you say something, and you think it's okay, but someone else interprets it differently. Okay, so you said it the way you would like to say it. I make a political statement, and that's up to me. Someone wants to comment on my political statement, say, I think you're wrong, you're full of it, whatever. Great, we can have a back and forth, or I can just ignore it, no big deal. I can take my post down. But if someone were to take something that I posted, and then took personal offense, or decided to share it with somebody else, or take it to someplace else and say, this is why this person is such a bad person. Well, what were they doing looking at, and what were they doing trolling in the first place? If you don't like it, ignore it. It wasn't about you. If I, for instance, again, using my sister Anna, if I post something that I think that Anna didn't like, but I put her name on it, I tagged her and said, Anna, on that, or referred to her in the comments, then yeah, she has every right to respond to that, positive, negative, whatever, because I've invited her into the conversation. My post, my invitation, here we go. Some other person who had nothing to do with that post decides to post or comment on it, at least I know they've done it. But if they take it out of context and go and spout off about it someplace else, there's a problem with that. Yes, it can come back to me, why did I post in the first place? But what about this attitude that just because it's available, that makes it okay to use that against someone else? You know what? I'm sort of making a case for shutting Facebook down. I'm making the case for myself that maybe I shouldn't be using Facebook at all. However, it balances out for me that in some cases it's a good thing, and I really appreciate it. And I'm going to be in the future very, very careful about it. But it just got thinking about that this week with all of the stuff in the news about Facebook and how it's used the wrong ways. That we have created an environment in which people think it is all right, not just tolerated, but expected, that they have the right to go into some part of someone's life through Facebook and then make judgments on that, or make it personal about them when it had nothing to do with them, or to try to hurt another person. Not very often do we hear about people doing wonderful things when they've been trolling in someone else's Facebook account. But we do hear things about what happens when someone uses something on someone else's Facebook account to hurt them. And that is not cool. It's not illegal. And I guess technically it's not wrong. But is it ethical? I think maybe that's something that we all need to do with our teenagers and our young people, and even our own age, to think about what are the ethics of things like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and all these things. Just because they are available and just because we all think it's an easy way to share, we need to be aware of two things: our own responsibility in what we post and how we post it. And then thinking about the consequences of what we post, to the person that we've posted it to, other people who might see it. Yes, we have a little bit of responsibility there. But also we have a responsibility to not use these things that are now public to hurt other people, to go searching for something. So as you watch this, probably obviously on a social media site, whether it's the Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, I invite you to start thinking about that. How do we live in a society in which it's okay, or it's not okay, but in which availability to other people's thoughts is it's readily available? What do we do with those things? And is it right for us to take deep dives into someone else's life? Just because we can doesn't mean we should. Just because someone leaves their journal open and they don't even care if other people see it, doesn't mean that we should be spouting what they've written in their journal to other people who have nothing to do with it. Just my thoughts. I don't have any opinion about Mark Zuckerberg, and I really don't know much about how all these things work. But it seems to me that we have had the opportunity now to have it brought to our attention right here, not out there, but right here, that Facebook and all of these things, as wonderful as they can also be dangerous. And it becomes our responsibility to take care of our little sphere of how we deal with these things. But it's also our responsibility and how we respond and how we deal with other people's stuff. So if you want me to see something on your Facebook page, then invite me to be your friend. If you don't, trust me, I'm not going to troll you. The closest I will come is if somebody sends me a Facebook friend request, and I don't know who they are, I'll click on their picture to see maybe they're just using a pseudonym, or maybe I do know them or something. But I'm not going to go trolling for things, and I'm certainly not going to take your information and use it against you. That would be ethically wrong in my mind. There is a line for which I draw for Facebook. I use it professionally for this stuff, and personally to stay in touch with friends and family, and to share funny things, and to share prayers and information and things like that. But I never intend to hurt another person. And I would hope that other people would make that their pledge as well, that they will never hurt another person when using Facebook or when they see someone else's Facebook page. Have a great day, and God bless you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.